All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I'm Valerie Lockhart. I'm the Executive Director of Code Savvy. Today, we are here to talk a little bit about branding and logo design as it relates to applications or AI projects that you might be building. That said, we do have some slides that you can add or take a look at. And it's our bit.ly link is /CS branding design if you want those, the slides that we're going to go through today. There's a couple of resources in there. And so you can join or get those at that link. So we'll jump right in. I should mention also, if you have questions today, we're live on YouTube. So you can go into the chat there and ask whatever questions you might have. We probably will get to those at the end. If not, if I see something that jumps up as we're going through, I will pull it in. But yeah, if you have questions, just go ahead and throw them in the chat on YouTube. All right. So first, as we jump into this world of branding and logo design for your applications or AI projects, some of the more important things that you want to think about are spending some time understanding what you're solving. Like, what is the problem that you're solving with this technology? That would be your mission. You're creating this product for a reason. And what is that reason? You also want to understand who your users are going to be. Who's your target audience for this project? And then lastly, but not least, is thinking about and understanding the personality of your product. So just like people, technologies have personalities, right? They have a platform has a personality. So you just want to think about what that is and how that personality of your product works with your audience. So just like we covered in our design thinking workshop, the user of your product is really at the heart of all of the decisions that you're going to make about your app. And so it's the same when you think about the branding of your product or your company. Next, we'll talk a little bit about what to think about as you're designing your app or your AI. You're really going to want to think about who you're going to be marketing to and thinking about how you're going to be communicating with them about your product. So after you've kind of given some thought to who your target audience is and who your users are going to be, think about what types of things might resonate with them. You know, if your app or your AI is related to the environment, talking about things like that relate to that, using keywords that might resonate with them. Then when it comes to your user journey, you want to make sure that the way that those people are navigating through your app matches your product's personality. So keeping things simple, are your prompts that you're putting in there friendly? What does that tone look like as people go through your app and navigate through the screens and through the information that you're trying to get them to do in the app? And then lastly, look at other apps and products that are on the market. Some people say, like, check out the competition, which is legit. But another way to look at it is just look at what's already out there and see. It doesn't even have to be a direct competitor of your product, but take a look at other things and see what kinds of designs, what kind of images they're using, what colors, what fonts. See what you like and see how that matches up with what you're trying to achieve for your product. So make sure that those things are, make sure they feel good to you together, and that they're conveying the kind of message that you want your app to convey. So today, the main three things that we'll really touch on are going to be the value of your product, the tone that it takes, and then we'll get into a little bit about logos, because that can kind of be the first introductory visual that people engage with when it comes to your brand or your product. And so we'll talk first about kind of the value that you're bringing, and what you're messaging through your branding. So when you think about your product, you want to think about what your value proposition is. What are you bringing to the table that other people aren't? Why should people choose your product over others? And one thing that you can do to help you kind of figure that out is make a list of the features that make your product unique or different from others. And so as you're out there doing your market research, kind of take notes of what people are doing in that field or in that same niche, and then make a list of things that make your product different. Those can be the types of things that you will use in your marketing materials. And then once you have that list, you really want to think about how those features relate to your target audience and the people who will be using your app. All of that can come together in all of your marketing materials, whether it is when you launch your app up to the store, you have to have a description. In your pitch videos, you're going to be talking about what that app is and how this branding kind of feeds through all of that. And so going through these steps and thinking about what your value proposition is can really help make those marketing materials consistent. Then we get to tone. When you think about what the tone of your messaging is, the messaging that you use really should resonate, again, with your target audience. Is your product meeting some need in the market? Is it helpful? Is it playful? Should you be making people smile when they use your app? Does it make them sad? Are you trying to invoke emotions from them to get them to do some call to action? Would your app be considered sophisticated? Some of these descriptors can help you figure out how you want people to feel when they use your app. And you can find keywords related to that tone, and it can help you tap into those feelings of your users. And this is a really good application for using AI to help you come up with some of those words. We can get more into that later in a different session of how to bring AI into that mix. But there really is some great ways to, find additional keywords that might relate to your app, or determine. I'll show you a little bit later today how you can have AI help you determine if you're on track with your tone and your messaging. And so just something to think about is make sure that it's cohesive again, make sure that the tone that you're using resonates with the people that are going to be using your app. So now we'll get into logos. As I stated, a logo is kind of a first introduction to your product. It's the first thing people see visually that represents your company or your product. And so a good logo should give you a hint to what the product or the service is. It could be very subtle. You don't want to maybe beat people over the head with it, but definitely it should have some tie-in to what you're doing or what that solution is that you're building. Another thing to think about is that colors can convey messages. So it's not just whether you think it looks pretty. There are meanings tied behind colors that kind of intuitively people understand, or it resonates with them in different ways. If you go into the link, I'll put the link up here again for the slide, so you have this link to this resource, but there's a really good resource that we found online that lets people look at, it's like a list of colors, and then to the next column is what those colors relate, what emotions or feelings or meaning they have for people. And so that can be an interesting way to look at things. Also, if you're including logo text in your logos, like words, you want to make sure that the font is always legible, no matter what size your logo is going to be displayed at. Whether it's, tiny in the corner, just like on our slide deck here, or if it's huge and big on a billboard, it should be legible and easy to read, particularly when it comes to contrast and just like some of those scripty fonts are not great for being able to read from far away or even up close in some stances. So just keep that in mind as you're designing. And then last on that, just make sure that you're getting feedback from people who are in your circle. The people who will give you honest feedback, go to them and ask them what they think of your logo. Ask them what it makes them think about, ask them how it makes them feel. And then see if those things check back to what you wanted your app the impact that you want your app to have on people. Again, it's all about making sure that these things are in alignment and that they're all resonating with the people who are going to be using your app, because they are the people that we are designing for. So when it comes to logos and design, one thing that I think is really important and critical to think about is accessibility. And so, as I mentioned, colors can really convey different things to people. They have different messaging behind them, but they can also be really problematic. Color blindness is one of the ways that this can come up. Red and green tend to be the more common colors that are affected for people, but 8% of men and about 1% of women all live with color blindness. And so if your logo or your design is based on, a red color, it's going to look totally different to those people. So while it's not saying that you can't do that, it's just something good to think about. And maybe you want to aim for something else. Again, contrast is super important. So this is kind of a rule with any design, not just logos. But with any design, you really want to make sure that dark colors are on top of or next to light colors and vice versa. So having light colors on light colors is no good. As you can see from that top example, you can barely read it. You want to have enough contrast between the colors that people will be able to see it, even if they have poor eyesight. There is a website online, and I'll make sure that there's a link in here in the slides for contrast checking for accessibility. And that's a game changer when you're doing any kind of web design or logo design. It's a good habit to get into, to run it through that type of thing, so it can tell you if there's enough contrast for people with limited visibility. Last but not least, I wanted to talk a little bit about AI and how we can use it to help us in this process. What I did as a case example was I uploaded our Code Savvy logo into ChatGPT. I gave it the persona that it was an expert in branding and marketing, and I asked it to evaluate our brand based on the logo that we have. And so I'll make this a little bit bigger if I can. I'll just get myself out of the way. Like I said, I uploaded it. I asked it to evaluate our brand, and it came up with what I think is a pretty good synopsis of what Code Savvy is and stands for. It says that it is a brand that's knowledgeable or expert in coding or software development, which I like to think we are. It also implies proficiency and a smart approach to technology. Couple of things to mention here. There are the typography. It talks about the sans serif font, makes it easy to read. It's sleek and contemporary, modern and professional. The color scheme, the purples and the pinks that we use are, according to GPT, often associated with creativity, wisdom, and experience. And it's less common than blues and reds, which gives us a unique visual identity. And then last but not least, it gave like a synopsis of what our identity is, which is a modern, tech savvy, and forward moving. I thought it was also funny to note that it said this might be a company that provides educational resources. So it, for me, and my purposes, it was pretty on brand. So once you kind of get your first logos designed or your first um, images that you want to use for your app, I would recommend putting it into ChatGPT, asking it to evaluate that based on kind of what you want your branding to be and like the messaging and the tone that you want to have, and see if it matches up because it can do a good job of evaluating that and kind of weighing it against what you're looking for. So that said, I also love helping people with this type of thing. And so if you have any other questions about uh, design or colors or imagery or what kind of tone, if you want a little bit of extra help using AI to figure out some of these things, I'm super happy to connect with you, and to answer any questions that I can. I have my LinkedIn account here. My email is here. And again, the slide links are here. And I'll make sure that those are updated with a couple of these resources. But I really love this part of development. And I'm excited to help you all get your product to the right tone and image that you really want it to have. So please feel free to reach out. And if you have any questions at all, I am here. All right. So have a good day, and I will talk to you soon.